It's WST Sunday Live, hosted by Hrabchak, Lyss Houde, and Jacob Stoller.
Good morning, everyone. How are we doing? Welcome back to another edition of WST Sunday Live. My name is Hrabchak, joined today by Lyss Houde, Jacob Stoller from Sportsnet.ca, unable to join us, but you can find Jacob's work right at Sportsnet.ca. But we've got a massive show today. The Winnipeg Jets clinching their first ever division title, 1.0 or 2.0, as they lock up the Central Division last night in a 5-4 shootout win over the Chicago Blackhawks. The vibes are high. Thank you, everyone, for joining us in chat. Lyss, how are you doing on this Sunday morning?
I am doing excellent. I was texting Connor last night. It was my little brother's birthday, so we went out, and I was a little bit worried because I don't really go out that much anymore. And so get home, it's 3:30, creeping up to 4, and you're like, oh my gosh. But I woke up this morning, bolted upright, and I was like, guys, it's Winnipeg Sports Talk Sunday Live Day, and I could not think of a better place to be than right here, celebrating what's been a really fun regular season with everyone so far. And, obviously 2 games left, but I feel like a lot of the questions have been answered, and there's not a lot left to do in these last couple of games. Obviously, momentum is a thing that, depending on who you ask, can be carried over from game to game and into the playoffs and whatnot. Big one tonight against the Edmonton Oilers because they need to get some momentum on their side as well. And then the fan appreciation game later this week. But my eyes are kind of looking at the end of the week here and the weekend going into game 83. I'm pretty fired up, and I'm super psyched to talk about it all.
Yeah, and in Ehlers we trust, saying Western Conference champions as well. They're 5 points up on the Washington Capitals for the league regular season champions, the President's Trophy. So what a year it has been for your Winnipeg Jets. And last night, Lyss, you say, what do we need to see going into playoff time? I need to see how the Jets fare against the Chicago Blackhawks. Obviously, I'm kidding.
Like, what?
But last night, they go down 2-0 quite early in the first off of a bad played puck by Connor Hellebuyck and a power play goal against by Connor Bedard. They come all the way back to make it 3-2. Then Chicago makes it 4-3. The Jets tie it. Josh Morrissey ties it late. And then the overtime is chaotic. Cole Perfetti's nasty in the shootout. That game was very fun. And I said it on the IC postgame show last night. When they picked up a point, they secured the Central. And from that point forward, the game was just so chaotic and fun. I mean, the whole night was. But overtime, there was just this freeness. The Jets weren't really, the mission was accomplished. But hey, they got the win anyways. What were your initial takeaways from last night's game specifically, Lyss?
I mean, it was a game against the Chicago Blackhawks, right? And it's so funny. I often think about when Josh Morrissey first entered the NHL and how I feel like the Josh Morrissey we've seen in the last 3 years is very different than the Josh that we saw at the beginning of his kind of career. And Josh Morrissey talked a lot about how the AHL was like, he never said this kind of outright, but like he likes details, he likes structure. Like Josh Morrissey, when he's adjusting to chaos, is a little bit less
sure,
himself, right? And in the last little bit, the Winnipeg Jets have been a really structured team. He's really come into his own, all these sorts of things. Yesterday gave flashes of like I was going to call it an AHL game, but I would almost like border on junior hockey game, right? Where at the beginning of the first period, the Winnipeg Jets were doing so many uncharacteristic things, running into each other and these crazy wacky giveaways, because the Chicago Blackhawks just play like a really weird style of hockey where the structure is there because you can't play hockey without it. I totally get that. But like you can see the difference between Team 32 and Team 1 in the NHL. Not that they're all the way down there, but it was definitely a game where you're like, oh yeah, every team can come in and win a game on any given night in the NHL. We understand that. But there is a reason why one team is where they are and the other is where they are, right? So it was definitely a frustrating first period to watch is maybe what I'll say. It was kind of wacky it was just a bit of a weird period, but you can see the Winnipeg Jets kind of settled into their own and got better as the game progressed. And like you said, those two kind of fluky goals in that first period. And credit to Chicago for kind of hanging in there after the Jets had the momentum going into the third and putting up a fight for sure. But you're totally right that it was just, it's not a game that I was putting too much stock into at all, really. And my opinion doesn't really change after the fact that they won. The only thing is just, like I said on Twitter, if there's a Cole Perfetti victory lap out there for the taking, it's mine and I'm grabbing it every time. So that was a fun way to kind of seal the deal.
That shootout goal was so nasty. And Kyle Connor had a beautiful shootout goal right before him. No one's really talking about that one.
That one was insane too. That was like a bantam hockey flick. Like it was so funny. Like I laughed at that one. Like I laughed out loud when he scored that goal. So I was like, that was just like, come on, man.
I'm gonna try that in my men's league hockey game later, and it's just gonna like hit the glass. Like it's just gonna be terrible. But yeah, Cole Perfetti, and shout out Dave Minuk of Illegal Curve. He posted this late
that was
last
insane.
night.
That was such a
Cole Perfetti did the same move in the AHL like 4 years ago, and same result. Slid it right through the 5-hole of the goaltender. That was unbelievable from Cole Perfetti. Just what an exclamation point to all of this. The Jets clinching the Central, clinching the West. To lose that game either in overtime or a shootout would have been a little weird, you know, like for the vibes. It's like, yeah, we clinched, but and then you just like lose. Like I think
but we let Pat Maroon score on us in overtime in the year of our Lord 2025. Yeah, no, I totally agree.
Exactly. So that was nice to see for Cole Perfetti as well. I see a lot of people in chat mentioning concern for Nikolai Ehlers. This is the one maybe bad news of this game. Nikolai Ehlers left with an injury, collided with the linesman as he was kind of receiving a pass entering the zone, went down in a heap, needed to be helped off the ice. Let's get to Scott O'Neill. Here's what he had to say after the game to reporters on scene. Mike McIntyre from the Winnipeg Free Press asking questions here about the status of Nikolai Ehlers. Here's Scott O'Neill.
We'll see. Let's see when we get home. Thanks.
Is there a great level of concern, or hard to say at this point?
No, we'll just see where he's at. I mean, just a little bit of the injury that he had before, so just kind of recurs.
So it's more of an aggravation.
So yeah.
Such a slow developing play. I mean, shouldn't the linesman have moved out of the way maybe?
Yeah, I'm not gonna. You know what? They just ran into each other. It was a tough play, especially to lose him on that situation. It wasn't a block shot or doing something that was. It's a freak accident.
There's Scott O'Neill talking about how it was really just a freak accident. And Mike's tweet from the road list with this set of news was that he thought Scott O'Neill didn't seem overly concerned. I kind of agree. Clearly it's a re-aggravation, but Scott O'Neill shrugged when he goes, is there any level of concern? He goes like this and then just kind of says, we'll see. I don't know. There's 2 games left. There's little to no chance Nikolai Ehlers plays in these games anyways, since this is a re-aggravation of the injury. And all that matters is getting him healthy for game 1 of the playoffs. But Lyss, your thoughts on the Ehlers injury and Scott O'Neill's comments there?
Yeah, I mean, I think that if your most dynamic forward skater, whatever, goes out long-term in game 80 or 81, because we remember what happened a couple of years ago in game 81 against the Minnesota Wild, you don't chuckle in post-game media, right? Like I completely agree with Mike's assessment of kind of the situation where it's like, of course you never want to see a guy go down like that or anything like that. And especially when it's like not a hockey play too, because, sometimes if a guy gets hit, gets clipped, whatever, it's like, hey, that's kind of the risk you run. That's the nature of the game. This is like one of those things. It's like an injury in sewer ball, right? Where it's just like, man, oh man, like that shouldn't have happened kind of thing. But I agree that I don't think we'll see him play in the next couple of games, nor should we. There'll probably be a couple of the big guys who will play because they do take a lot of pride in getting the full 82 if that's on the table. I totally get that. Yep. Nikolai Ehlers had already missed a little bit of time, and I think anyone who's slightly banged up right now beyond what they're comfortable with should definitely take the next 2 games.
Yeah, 100%. And it's going to be interesting how they manage the rest with these 2 games, because the Jets obviously play today. I didn't even mention that off the top. It's a game day edition of WST Sunday Live. That's like the 8th most important thing today.
Yeah.
But they play today against the Edmonton Oilers down at Canada Life Center. Then they play Wednesday night at CLC, Fan Appreciation Night, against the Anaheim Ducks to close out the regular season. So if players are going to rest, if you're going to rest players both this game and Wednesday, that's almost a full week without playing hockey, which some guys might want. You know, they might be banged up and say, sure, give me a full bye week, like NFL style. I'll sit out for a week and be ready to go. Some players want to be in rhythm, so they might want to play one of these 2 games. And if they are going to play one of these 2 games, it's more than likely Wednesday. I don't know if I'm kind of out to lunch on that, but like, if they're going to rest, I think it'd be today. And then you'd play one game this week, Wednesday, to maybe knock off the rust if a player's concerned about that. I don't know. I think we're going to see a lot of
back to back too, right? Like that's the other thing
Yeah.
that's wacky is that they have a morning skate in an hour.
No morning
and
skate today, I don't
I
think.
thought it was optional. I thought
Oh, really?
there was an
I didn't see
optional.
that.
I don't know. There was a notification from PR about it.
Oh, maybe.
But regardless, they played, last night in Chicago, which is,
Yeah.
not a long flight, but it's long enough that, I totally agree with you. And I think Wednesday is a nice little, if you want to stay in the rhythm, you can't really stay much more in the rhythm than adding in, today. You'll still get 3 days off in between 3 days afterwards because the playoffs don't start till Saturday or Sunday or what have you. So I definitely agree. And there are some people in the comments asking about players that the Jets might call up from the Moose to play. I would not be shocked if we saw a good amount of call-ups, especially because I don't know exactly what the Manitoba Moose's travel schedule is, but they only have 2 games left in their season in Texas this coming weekend on, I want to say, Friday and Saturday, if not Saturday and Sunday. So they're home right now.
Yeah.
And they've, closed out their last home game of the season with a nice little win yesterday in the overtime, which was really fun. Congrats to them. But the guys are all in town right now. I would not be surprised if we saw a couple of debuts here, a couple of call-ups, going into the stretch here. I think it works with their schedule. They have nothing to play for regardless.
Yeah.
No offense to them. And I think the Winnipeg Jets could use some, not just fresh bodies, but also get the vibes up, right? Because guys getting to play their first NHL games, we saw it last year with Brad Lambert, Nikita Chibrikov right at the end of the season there. That's awesome. Everyone gets on board with those sorts of things. Everyone gets excited. That's the kind of energy that you want around your team going into playing the most emotional and exciting hockey of the season. So I would not be surprised to see some wacky line combinations, wacky, players. That sounds unfair, but like different players coming into the lineup tonight and Wednesday.
Just preseason hockey. Like that's what it'll be. It'll be 2 Moose players on a line with a Jet. That's what it's going to be.
AJ in the chat, I hope to see Heinola soon. I didn't even consider that that's an option, that Heinola very well could play today or Wednesday.
This is his chance to show the Jets what he has. No, he's going to get in. One of these last 2 games, like for sure. He's already up with they'll rest the players, Sandberg, Morrissey. Yeah. Ville will be in. Ville will be in, folks. You'll get to see the Ville Heinola experience. I also think Elias Salamonson is going to be in. I think Brad Lambert, who some people are talking about last night, went down with a scary kind of injury, kind of got tackled in the corner. He came back. So he had to be helped down the tunnel. But he came back to the game. So if he's healthy, I would expect him to be up as well.
But Matt makes a good comment that for some of the guys, it would be a back-to-back-to-back if they played. Guys like Elias play every night. Lambert plays every night. There are a couple guys that come in and out of the lineup. So some of those guys you might see get called up. But some of those guys who've already played 2 games this weekend, I highly doubt it. But like, you never know.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, just back to last night for a second. Is it time for the Dylan Sandberg record? In and out of the lineup.
Oh my gosh, sure. You know what? I was the one who just made it about the Manitoba Moose as I always do. So you're allowed to make this about Dylan Sandberg as you always do. Go ahead.
44, 12, and 2. The Winnipeg Jets are when Dylan Sandberg is in the lineup, folks. That is insane. It's insane. But he's got 2 more, and maybe he'll only play one of these games, but he's got a chance to make that even better down the stretch here and into the playoffs as well. Last night, so Neil Pionk returned to the lineup on Thursday. Same with Nikolai Ehlers. We talked about Nikolai Ehlers missing the rest of the game last night. Didn't return for the 3rd. We'll see his status this week, of course. But Neil Pionk, he returned to the lineup Thursday, and I thought acquitted himself very well. Broke up a few like high danger chances for Dallas. Like they had a few 2-on-1s, 3-on-2s brewing that Neil Pionk shut down completely. And then last night, that pairing. Again, it's the Chicago Blackhawks. They definitely should play well, and they controlled play and all of this stuff. But still, Neil Pionk in his 2nd game back with Dylan Sandberg Shot attempts 23-11. Expected goals percentage 85.8%. The scoring chances were 15-3 with that pairing on the ice. The high danger chances were 10-1 with that pairing on the ice. So we'll talk about the third pairing later on in the episode, of course, because that's WST Sunday Live. We'll get there. But I want to say Neil Pionk coming back here these first 2 games, I thought he's looked great. He's looked like the same Neil Pionk pre-injury. And he's moving the puck up the ice well. He's breaking up plays defensively. And him and Dylan Sandberg are they're perfect for one another on that defense course. So I just wanted to say that on last night's game. Liz, anything else from last night or Thursday against Dallas as well? I mean, like that was the biggest win in like regular season win in like franchise history. So any comments from last night or Thursday against Dallas that you wanted to mention?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely like giving Neil Pionk some flowers when he deserves it. I think that that's a guy who's gotten a bad rap from a lot of Winnipeg Jets fans for the last couple of seasons, and going into a contract year this year, I completely understand there being some wariness around that player. I completely get that, but this is the time of the season where I think it is really important to look a little bit shorter term with everything that's going on. And Neil Pionk is a guy that, like you mentioned, those specific things about defending odd man rushes, specifically one-on-one defending, individual kind of managing, not just necessarily off the rush, but kind of taking that one-on-one, man-on-man matchup is something that Neil Pionk has always been really good at. And Dylan Sandberg, I mean, good at everything, but definitely if we're going to kind of categorize his strengths, I would lean a little bit more on the end zone defense, getting in shot lanes, that sort of stuff. So I do really like that pairing kind of as a fit, just because depending on the situation, you have someone out there who's really good at managing that one thing. And then they're both pretty good at moving that puck out and kind of creating some stuff there and building a bit of a counterattack, which is really exciting to see from them. So I was really pleased with their game yesterday, especially considering how much time Neil Pionk has missed at such a pivotal time of the year. But I think he's definitely the type of guy who, if he was super convinced that he needed to have this, what do you want to call it, like momentum, or he needs to have reps, can't, get stale, whatever, I'm sure he could have played earlier. I think this is a guy who kind of recognized that you have to look a little bit, in terms of game 83 and beyond and what's needed for you right now, what's needed for the team. And it's given the team an opportunity to try other pairings with Dylan Sandberg to give other people some tougher minutes, right? Because that pairing does munch a lot of minutes. And so I think it's worked out well. And I'm, pleased that he's come back looking as good as I think that we could ask for him to look, having missed as much time as he did, knowing the type of player he is. Very pleased with him. And I'm not concerned about the Winnipeg Jets top 4 going into a series against the Minnesota Wild or the St. Louis Blues.
Absolutely. Just real quick, Jay Miller, when is game 1? This is the question.
Don't ask.
Whoever finds out this question, like, skyrockets up the Winnipeg media, like, insider knowledge list, because we don't know. I've
been saying to people, it's actually insane looking at my calendar for the next couple of weeks, when normally, like, even for this week, it's like, booked like 7:30 a.m. to 9 p.m. Like, I have my days booked, whatever. And then come Friday, nothing. My calendar's wide open. I refuse to make plans. I'm like, I don't know when anything is happening.
So the Stanley Cup playoffs start April 19th. And there's a concert at Canada Life Center that night. So I don't know if the Jets are going to start that night. I've been telling people, hey, there's a concert. Jets are probably going to start Sunday. Now everyone online is saying the concert could get moved. It's Sunday, the week before. Like, I don't know what the rules are for moving a concert, but like, we're getting close to needing to move this concert if it's going to get moved. So I don't know. I've been under the impression that they're going to start April 20th. That's no inside information or anything like that. I just am putting 2 and 2 together with the
logic it out there.
Yeah. Like, just there's a concert Saturday, so they won't play. But Hustler seems pretty convinced also that they'll move the concert. So who knows?
It's a BTO concert, right?
BTO.
They're local. Concert. They get it. They understand.
Everyone's saying they should just do the whiteout parties. BTO playing whiteout parties.
Take care of business.
Yeah, exactly. Boom. Just do that. Perfect. That is our schedule update. Stay tuned to Winnipeg Sports Talk's social media channels, because, like I said, we do not know quite yet. Last night as well, you mentioned the Neil Pionk, Dylan Sandberg pairing and how they fit together. You spoke to it there. I want to bring up maybe a different layer. A lot of people talk about how how is this team different from last year's team? Last year's team was pretty good too, right? And they got bounced in the
Before
first
we
round.
get into the bigger picture stuff there, I
Yes.
do want to just make a quick comment about that because someone mentioned something in the chat in terms of like how they look away from each other and how Neil Pionk looks away
Sure.
from Sandberg. And I think it's so interesting. Like, don't get me wrong, I agree with you. I understand where you're coming from and why that's an important comment. But like I was saying, the short-term outlook changes big time. I don't care if Neil Pionk looks poor away from Dylan Sandberg right now because you're not
Right.
going to have to see that, right? And it's the sort of thing
Yeah.
where it's like the asterisk kind of goes away in terms of matchups, whatever. It's like, oh, like, but if this person looks poor with that guy, whatever, it's kind of a bit of a moot point because the only way that we would see Neil Pionk away from Dylan Sandberg is if there was some form of injury, right? And
Right.
that in and of itself is kind of what screws over the team, not the pairings being messed up, right? So I don't really put as much weight on that as I would in the regular season when you're trying to test out and see what your optimal combinations are and everything like that. They work together well enough to play the role that they need to do. And so I'm less concerned about how Neil Pionk looks away from Dylan Sandberg because I don't think we're going to see it anymore.
Yep. I 100% agree. And where I was going with that was that pairing has been so good and such an upgrade on previous iterations of the Winnipeg Jets second pairing. I'm talking specifically about the Brendan Dillon, Neil Pionk pairing, which was fine, but this is an elite second pairing. If you look at their metrics, that pairing went from average or maybe slightly above or below average on any given night to an elite second pairing with Dylan Sandberg and Neil Pionk. The difference that'll make in the playoffs when we know that Sandberg and Morrissey are probably both going to play 25 plus minutes a night, but Sandberg is going to be the one getting the tough matchup. So whoever the other team's best line is, I think Dylan Sandberg and Neil Pionk are going to be tasked with shutting them down on home ice. If it's the St. Louis Blues, the Robert Thomas line, I think Dylan Sandberg will go up against them. And then that gives Josh Morrissey and maybe even the Mark Scheifele line, right? If you're going the Sandberg and Lowry pairing against the other team's top line, then you can, the very next shift, come out with Scheifele's line and the Morrissey line against the second line of St. Louis or whatever team they end up playing. Like, I just think this pairing going from being slightly above average as a line with their metrics and goals and everything, going to elite and being that shutdown pairing is going to be such an advantage that this year's Jets team has over last year's. I don't know if you have anything else to say on that list. But
I totally agree. Yeah. And I think that, you bring up the matchup against someone like the St. Louis Blues, for example, and we can maybe get into that a little bit more, talking about some of those potential matchups, just because instead of looking at, there still being the possibility of playing the Colorado Avalanche, you can sort of narrow in on two different Central Division teams now. But it's very interesting to consider the whole concept of that home ice advantage and the matchups, because you're right. And I'm inclined to believe the same thing that you are, just because I think yesterday's Kyle Connor goal, or no, sorry, not Kyle Connor goal, the Josh Morrissey goal was kind of a perfect summary of what that top line can do when they gain the zone with possession or win the faceoff in the O zone. And they can just hold on to that puck. Kyle Connor in particular, I think lately has looked really, really confident and poised with the puck, just like holding on to it and managing it in a way that I see flashes of that in Cole Perfetti, but I think, and Mark Scheifele as well, but I feel like Kyle Connor is really the one who's taken the biggest step in that puck protection lately. Like, it's just been so fun to watch. And, they hemmed in that Chicago defense for probably 90 seconds there. Right? It was such a long shift and they were able to capitalize on it after a nice pass from DeMello. But I think that's the flexibility you open up with playing those different matchups. And what I wanted to bring up was this whole emergence of Morgan Barron as the fourth line center. Now you have four centers playing obviously still different enough styles of hockey, but they have this straight line speed that, you can manage different lines playing with different pairings a little bit better. If you're a pairing and you're going out there with the Mark Scheifele line and you're going out there with the Iafallo, Kapari, Gustafson fourth line of old, you're playing differently as a pairing for sure. And you still are, but the insertion of Morgan Barron in that fourth line center role, I think, brings a little bit more of that stability to what the exit and the entry can look like for the Jets. So I think that they're going to be well positioned to match up the way that they want and also still give their D pairings the confidence they need to kind of win those matchups.
Totally. And all of those matchups here, I'll bring up the Central Division standings again, because those matchups are matchup dependent, right? Like the Minnesota Wild, if they load up their top line, the Jets might do something different than if the Blues are playing, if they're playing the Blues and they kind of split up their top 6. So there's a lot based on the matchup, on what the matchups will be, as weird as that sounds. But here are the Central Division standings. People in chat saying that Z looks so great next to the Winnipeg Jets name. And yeah, the Winnipeg Jets are Central Division champions, pulling ahead of the Dallas Stars, who really rested like their whole team last night, and ended up losing to the Utah Hockey Club. But as the players have said all year, as we've said all year, it's better to win your way in. The vibes are definitely higher if you win your way in than have other teams beat Dallas. And that's what the Winnipeg Jets did. 114 points through 80 games. Dallas is at 106 through 80 games. Colorado is at 100 with 81 games played. And then the matchup that everyone is worried about, at least right now, the Minnesota Wild, 95 points on the St. Louis Blues, who have 94 points. So they're 1 point up, same amount of games played, 81. Minnesota has more regulation wins, which is the first tiebreaker. So it's looking more and more like the St. Louis Blues. But Lyss, to me, the best part of this photo right here is the locked in 2-3 matchup between the Dallas Stars and the Colorado Avalanche. I'm going to be taking the Avs in that series just because I've been watching the Dallas Stars for about a month. And let's just say I'm familiar with their game at this point. And unless Casey DeSmith puts up a .950 save percentage, which is what he's been doing weirdly for the last month, Dallas is going to lose that series. I'm calling it right now. Not quite the Rennie guarantee. The Colorado Avalanche are going to win that series. I've loved the way they're playing, and I have not liked the way Dallas has played. But anyway.
No, and this is what I was saying. I made a tweet about this the other day where it's like this, it's so evident that points in October are the same as points in April, because if the season started after the Four Nations break or whatever it is, I know that Dallas went on a little bit of a heater there, but this Colorado Avalanche team, holy smokes, since the trade deadline, like this, they're a freaking juggernaut. And also, I just got to say, it is hilarious that everyone is so pressed about the Jets like finishing top of the Central, whatever. That's like literally no one cares about them winning the West, because this Central Division is where it's at, right? The Edmonton Oilers are a corpse of even what they were last year. The LA Kings still have way too many question marks, though I am quite high on them. I really do like the LA Kings. 100% it's the year, and that's my Rennie guarantee. 100% it's the year.
LA,
especially with Matthias Ekholm maybe not being able to play for the Oilers. They're
that's
screwed.
A huge loss for them.
We can get into that if we need to later, but I think it's really, really interesting to see that, you know, for the Jets, Dallas kind of creeping up or whatever. Like if it was Colorado who's creeping up, it's like the thing would be, oh, you don't really want to play against Dallas, but then you'd flip-flop with the Colorado Avalanche. This time it was like the double whammy of like, not only will you fall down and lose that home ice advantage through the Central, you would have to play against the freaking Colorado Avalanche. Like I am so impressed with the way that they've managed to kind of recoup their season and turn into what they are. Losing Rantanen and starting with that forward core that they did in October. If you went to their daily face-off line charts in October,
oh my goodness,
it was insane. It was insane. It was an AHL team of forwards. Like it was actually ridiculous. And so seeing what they've been able to do, and the addition of Marty Necas and Brock Nelson, I think has just been so fun for them. And also getting a lot of the burden off of Casey Middlestad and getting him out of there, I think was huge for them as well. So I think that's a team that you don't want to run into if you can help it. And I do anticipate that will be the second round matchup that we'll see coming out of the Central Division for sure. But it's absolutely ridiculous that this Dallas Stars team was competing with the Winnipeg Jets with the PDO of like through the roof Vancouver Canucks of last year vibes.
Goodness.
Like it was ridiculous. And
it was worse. It was worse than the Canucks last year. Like it was crazy what they were doing to bad teams too. Like let's not act like they were doing this against good competition. They were scraping
the
by
Nashville Predators like 3 times.
Like Nashville was out shooting them like 30-10 through 2 periods, and Dallas ends up winning 3-1. It's like, well, okay, sure. They're the frauds this year. I saw Miranda's tweet. I know you're friends with Miranda, but we're passing the fraud squad title from the Winnipeg Jets to the Dallas Stars this year because, and I just predicted it, they're going to suffer the same fate the Jets did last year. They're going to lose in the first round, I think, to the Colorado Avalanche. I see some people in chat mentioning Calgary. That graphic was obviously the Central Division, so it didn't show Calgary. They're 4 points back of St. Louis with 2 games in hand. I do know Calgary's last 2 games are against LA and Vegas. So they'll need to win both of those. Or no, they have 3 games left. So there's one other one. I think they play today, maybe even. But yeah, it would be. It's very outlandish to think Calgary might be in there because they just have tough competition.
They play the Sharks today, so there is that.
Okay, Sharks and then Vegas, LA. Okay, I think Money Puck had it at around like 10% chance. So
yeah, that's
obviously, Calgary would be the preferred opponent out of any of those, Minnesota, St. Louis, or Calgary. But I will say, Calgary's not going to make it. Because
it's interesting though that we talk about the preferred matchups, right? Because I was really team Minnesota for a while, just in terms of like how they've matched up in the last couple of years and how they played against them lately. But like adding the juice of Eriksson Ek and Kaprizov back into the lineup, like you want to talk about game breakers for the Minnesota Wild. Those are the 2 guys that have some of the most potential, other than like maybe like Brock Faber, I guess, or even Matt Boldy, to like completely flip a thing on its head. I would argue that they're the 2 most impactful players on the Minnesota Wild, and getting them back in. I think I'm okay with the Winnipeg Jets probably matching up against the St. Louis Blues. I think it works kind of in their favor, considering the interesting season that the Minnesota Wild have had. But Calgary, I think everyone can and should agree that would be kind of the ultimate choice, especially with Dustin Wolf kind of settling back down to human levels in the last back half of the season here. Sure. So I definitely haven't really considered it as heavily, but it is definitely still an option.
Yes, for sure. Kenny's Waterball is saying, can you clarify? You said you expect Avs to win unless Casey DeSmith puts up a 950. I was saying that tongue in cheek because Casey DeSmith looked like Connor Hellebuyck over the last 3 weeks. Like Casey DeSmith was playing out of his mind. Yes.
Well, that's the other part that's so goofy about them too, is that like their backup has been better than their regular goaltender. So it's like, what do you really do with that? Like that's so hard. Like Casey DeSmith has been like really, really good, and Jake Ottinger has like been letting in like a random like 4, 5, 6 goal stinkers every now and then, and you're like, what's going on? And then letting in like 2 goals in his first 4 shots on games where he sometimes ends up doing okay, but they're just in such a weird situation. They're not only is their shooting percentage through the roof, their goaltending is just so confusing.
It's very, very confusing. That is for sure. Before we move on, here are the NHL standings. So the Winnipeg Jets are 5 points up on the Washington Capitals. Caps have a game in hand. They play against the Columbus Blue Jackets today. They're going home and home against them. They lost 7-0 yesterday.
I love my Columbus Blue Jackets.
Yeah, they were firing in that game, and some wacky goaltending from Washington in that one as well. And they're starting to rest players as well. Alexander Ovechkin didn't play yesterday. They gave him a day off through this whole great chase thing where he broke the record. And they're starting to rest some players as well. So the Winnipeg Jets magic number, I believe, and if you have the number and it's different, feel free to correct me, but I believe it's 2 points to clinch the President's Trophy. So a Washington loss in regulation or a Jets win today against Edmonton would get it done and bring the President's Trophy to Winnipeg. And Lyss, that's actually a bad thing, right? Because to be the best team, there's this random curse associated with it. I'll stop being super sarcastic, but I'll let you take the President's Trophy curse. Is that a thing?
It's a thing if you want to make it a thing, but I think it's the most ridiculous thing of all time, because it would be one thing if the team that had won the President's Trophy had like not won in like 50 years or something crazy like that. But I think the thing that's like so wacky is that like you get into the playoffs, every team technically, I know it's a little bit different, like has a 1 in 16 chance of winning the Stanley Cup. It could be a little bit higher. Let's say we even go like try and double those odds for the President's Trophy winner. Technically, the President's Trophy winner should win the cup every like 8 to 10 years. That literally happens. Like I don't understand why. Like it's like there are so many different things that you could. I did some math to like calculate this when I was getting so pressed last year about the whole Canadian Cup curse thing, because that one is a little bit more of a thing. Again, I don't believe in curses, but like it is a little bit more of a thing that it's like technically a Canadian team, if you were just going to go strictly based on odds or whatever, and if you wanted to give them a little bit of a disadvantage because of the tax thing or whatever, they should win also 1 in every 10 years. So the fact that it's been 30, fair enough. I totally get that. But I also did some calculations, and it was like no team with a Libra captain has won the Stanley Cup in like 50 years or something like that. Like what does it matter? What does it matter? I don't care. I think it's so ridiculous that we just kind of pick random things to be like, oh, that's a curse or whatever you want to call it. No, you win the league and you have all this momentum and you have the most points and you've played the most good games and you have home ice advantage all the way through the playoffs, like, oh, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. And I don't, oh my gosh, I can't get on board with this like galaxy braining of losing games to try and win in the long term. No, win the
No.
hockey game. Just go win the hockey game.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm 100% with you on this. You, as a hockey player, I've never been a professional hockey player, but I would think that the goal is to go out and win every single game. And if you're going to do that and win every single night, you're going to be the best team. And that gives you the best chance going into the playoffs. That gives you the best matchup in the West. That gives you home ice advantage in the Stanley Cup Finals if the Jets made it. Like there are things here to the President's Trophy. And look, I don't believe in the curse either. Matt Hyman with a great comment here that I agree with. Over 20% is not a curse. Like the President's Trophy winner wins like 20 something percent of the time. Like that is, I don't know. It would be awesome to raise another banner inside Canada Life Center, Central Division champs, President's Trophy, be the first Canadian team to win the President's Trophy since the Canucks did it in 2011, 2012. They actually went back to back. It was 2010, 11, and then 2011, 12. They won both. I don't know. I think it'd be awesome to say that you watched a team in a Canadian market win the President's Trophy.
And
like it's
I also,
it's not
this
nothing.
is maybe getting a little bit too big picture here because I always do that. But, you know, people have had some criticisms of Kevin Cheveldayoff in terms of like the Winnipeg Jets mantra of they will never rebuild. They are always going to try and be a competitive hockey team. And you can have your gripes with that if you want. But if they can find a way for their lows to be, you know, being a wild card team and their highs to be being a President's Trophy team, that is something that I have no problem with. My issue with that beforehand was the whole idea of like the worst you'll ever be is maybe second wild card or just outside of the wild card spot, but the best you'll ever be is third in the division. I do struggle with that, but if you can find a way to manage this roster and manage your assets to turn a team that is still using a lot of the same core players that was the second best team in the NHL in 2018, that's impressive management on my part. And I have to give the flowers where they're due there for sure.
Yeah. And Rob Somerville here saying Washington's remaining schedule is as follows: versus Columbus today, then against the Islanders, and then the Penguins. I remember that Penguins game being last because everyone was like, oh, he's going to break the record against Sid. Obviously, he did that last week.
And then he went God mode. Yeah. And it didn't matter.
Yeah, no kidding. 20% of the time, the President's Trophy wins the Stanley Cup. 100% of
now you're talking my language. That's real math right there.
Real math, real analytics right there for sure. But I agree with you with your comment on Cheveldayoff and the rebuild thing. Like, I think he took this roster from a bubble team to a contender like this when he made the Niederreiter deal, the Nemestikov deal, the Velarde deal. You know, all of these deals that just like surrounded this core with so much talent up and down the lineup and so much depth that this team became a 4-line team.
I also need to say
6, bottom 6
about the Velarde deal, whatever. Like, this is going to be like one of those things that falls into like my category of what's something that you could talk about for 20 minutes uninterrupted and never shut up about, is going to be this whole, the year after the biggest parts of the Dubois deal where the Jets get Velarde and Iafallo and Kupari, and 2 seasons later win possibly the President's Trophy, if not guaranteed their conference at this point. The LA Kings, this might be the year they finally take up the Edmonton Oilers because of Darcy Kemper, and the Washington Capitals got their great chase and they have their shutdown center. Like, how did everybody win this trade?
I don't know.
It's so ridiculous and I love it and I will never, ever, ever stop talking about it.
No kidding. And I know people are going to ask about it. So Gabe Velarde, we still haven't gotten an update on whether or not he'll be ready to go. The latest update we got last week was that he's now around the team doing off ice work and they're going to look to get him on the ice. Now that was before they even left for Dallas. So hopefully when we come back to the media here, I know there's an optional skate this morning, so maybe our Neil will have some updates today. But practice this week, hopefully we get the news that Gabe Velarde has hit the ice, is ramping up towards a playoff appearance. Same with Nikolai Ehlers, all of that stuff. As we count down to game 83, round 1, game 1 of the Stanley Cup playoffs, looking for the Winnipeg Jets to get healthy at the right time for sure. I want to play one more clip here from Scott O'Neill. I want to give a shout out to Mike, Winnipeg Free Press. This is a great question. I included the question in the clip. It's about Scott O'Neil, who's a 1.0 Jet, coaching the 2.0 Jets, and the pride that he feels in being the best team in the Central Division, winning a division title for this city, for this franchise. Here is the full exchange after the game with Mike and Scott on that.
Scott is a guy that's a Jet 1.0 and now here with 2.0, and you know what hockey means in the city. Just how much pride is there to see this team? I realize there's bigger goals, but to be number one at the end of the marathon that is a regular season is no small accomplishment.
Yeah, I mean, again, we got to check off a box, right? As we talked about training camp of eliminating 8 teams in the West. We did that earlier in the year, and then tonight finally to win the Central was a goal number 2. And yeah, I mean, those are big things, especially like what we talk about this Central Division. But as an organization, as a city, province, everybody's excited, and they should be, because we've got a hell of a hockey team, and we've done a lot of good things this year, and hopefully this lasts a couple more months.
Hopefully this lasts a couple more months. Hell yeah, Scott O'Neil, let's do it. Yeah, I thought that was a great question because Scott O'Neil was a 1.0 Jet, and like I said off the top, they never won a division title. This iteration's Jets never won a division title, and for the first time ever, we're going to have a Central Division title banner inside Canada Life Center, and I think that's pretty sick. And like Scott O'Neil said, they have a hell of a hockey team, and hopefully this lasts a couple more months. Lyss, it's time for everyone's favorite segment, Trending Up or Trending Down. This is the segment where we pick one player or thing that has trended up or down for the Winnipeg Jets over the past week of play. All of you who have joined us here live on YouTube, make sure to hit the comment section, drop your picks for trending up or trending down as we head into the playoffs. And while you're down there, if you're enjoying the stream, make sure you hit the like button as well. We've got over 300 people here with us live on YouTube on a Sunday morning. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We really appreciate it. We want to hear your picks for trending up, trending down, and we also want you to hit that like button and the subscribe. And Lyss, I will say, people should hit the notification bell as well, because we have an awesome interview coming out tomorrow with Dmitry Filipovich of the Hockey PDO cast. I am so fired up. We wanted to have him on the show live, but he's on the West Coast. That's a tough timing thing. So we're going to have him on this afternoon and then release that episode tomorrow. I'm super excited for that.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so down for that. I've been looking forward to that one for quite some time now. And I think if you folks are looking for any Saturday or Sunday afternoon casual listening, I highly recommend you go check out his most recent episode of his podcast, because he interviewed Murat, talked about the Jets. Such a good episode, so good. And we're going to build on a lot of that stuff that he talked about with Murat. I would have to say, and I'm biased because I do respect them both so much, but there's a reason I respect them both so much. 2 of the smartest minds in hockey media, straight up. I don't even care. Super articulate. So fun to listen to. So very good episode. And we are very fortunate that we get to not only see Murat on the big show every single week, but we're going to be getting to chat with Dmitry this week as well. So that's going to be super duper fun. So trending up, Winnipeg Jets, or pardon me, holy smokes, Winnipeg Sports Talk Sunday Live content on a Monday. That's what's trending up right now.
That's what's trending up. Done. People love that pick. Yeah, I'm super excited. The Hockey PDO cast has been probably my favorite national podcast ever since he's had it, and I discovered it probably just before COVID there. He's been doing it for a while. And I absolutely love the content.
Progressing in the mean since 2015.
See, I was late to the party though.
Yeah.
So, but hey, I can't wait for this conversation. It's going to be great. Lyss, who we said last week was Colin Miller, Cole Perfetti, Hayden Fleury, and the power play. So those players are off the board for us to choose. Do you want to go first for trending up?
Sure, yeah. I'll give my trending up this week to Neil Pionk. I think, if
Nice.
folks have been tuning in, listening, first of all, thank you so much for being here live with us, kind of in the chat, hanging out with us on a Sunday. Yeah, we're all pretty fired up to be here. But if you've been listening all the way through, you heard me give some love to Neil Pionk earlier in the show. I am going to give him my trending up. This is a player I've been pretty hard on for the last couple of years, and I think we do need to give him credit where it's due. And I think that he is exactly the type of player that fits in super well to where this team is going right now. And I think he's been good coming back from injury. So I think he's trending in the right direction to take some important minutes and free up some open space for some other guys to cook in the playoffs. So Pionk gets my trending up.
For sure. My trending up is going to be Nino Niederreiter, and I have to give a shout out to my auntie Julie. Texted me after the game last night. Her pick for trending up was Nino Niederreiter, and I said that's a great pick. So I'm sticking with that. He was one of the Jets' best forwards last night, easily. He had the goal from very far away from his office. Niederreiter doing a little bit of working from home, a little bit of remote work there. His office is right in the crease. He was far away from that, but a nice shot. Morgan Barron with a great screen in front of Spencer Knight on that goal as well. And Niederreiter, he was all over it last night, just on the cycle, on the forecheck. So shout out Auntie Julie for that pick. It's a great pick. Nino Niederreiter is my pick for trending up. And I get to go first for trending down as well. That means I'm going to be taking Luke Schenn. I think you're going to take maybe the other side of this pairing. We'll see. But Luke Schenn, when he showed up, fit in well. I still think he's a great fit. I still think he should be, in the Jets playoff lineup. He brings so much to this lineup: physicality, penalty killing. The last couple of games, I feel like that foot speed issue has kind of popped up here and there. Especially no more glaring foot speed issue than when the Chicago Blackhawks have a 2-on-0 from like center ice, right?
Yeah.
It's like, all right, where is everyone? What's going on here? So, and that was the Stanley Schenn pairing that was on the ice. So I'm going to take Luke Schenn for my pick as trending down. But again, still like the move. Again, it's just a trend. I still think Luke Schenn is perfect for the playoffs. So I am going to take Luke Schenn. Lyss, who you got?
Okay, I need to pick someone else because I'm not going to do it because I completely agree with you. And we haven't really talked about that pairing today because people are, bringing up the term doomsday in the chat. I feel as though I do doomsday the Winnipeg Jets pretty frequently, and today doesn't feel like the day to do that. But if you're going to bring up that 2-on-0 and what we saw yesterday against a team that's not that fast in the Chicago Blackhawks, they have some fast guys. I really like Frank Nazar, I really like Connor Bedard, but that particular moment, I think, was a prime example of what could happen, especially against the likes of the offense of a Jordan Kyrou and Robert Thomas and Dylan Holloway if he's healthy. Or on the flip side, you have your Matt Boldies that can come out and cook you there too. And I think that pairing could get exposed, especially off the rush if there's some really quick change of possession in the offensive zone. I think they get caught pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think I'm gonna cheat. I apologize. I'm going to cheat because I can't, out of the goodness of my heart, give it to the certain 6'7" defender just because of how hard I've been on him all year. And there are other times where he's deserved it more than today. I am going to give my trending down to the Washington Capitals after that 7-0 stinker of a loss yesterday to the Columbus Blue Jackets, to my Columbus Blue Jackets. I love that team so much. They're so fun to watch. And, this is a team that I think should have had the President's Trophy a little bit more in the bag, especially because the Winnipeg Jets have been good lately, don't get me wrong, but they've been beatable in terms of their points record over the last little stretch. We've seen that within the Central Division, they haven't even had the best points percentage in the last, couple of weeks or whatnot. So I'm going to get my trending down to the Washington Capitals. And you know what? I'm doing it to be considerate to us for next week to leave more players on the board for when the playoffs actually start. Not because I'm lazy and not because I don't want to be mean today, but I'm going to give it to the Washington Capitals.
You're looking at the big picture. That's smart. That's a savvy veteran move right there. That is
always playing AD chess over here.
always. Some great picks for trending down. I saw someone say, I think it was Snackatoba said, must be a tough week to pick a trending down. Have to agree. Matt Hyman, humbleness levels. Dan Jets fan, trending down the effort to winning the division. These are great picks, folks. When it's
trending down the high danger chances that will be created in games 81 and 82.
Yes. Holy. Trending down the rest of the Western Conference, folks. We're on top. Winnipeg Jets are on top. So everyone else is trending down. That's my pick. No, I'm kidding. I'll stick by Luke Schenn, even though you definitely had the better play there. Looking ahead 1 week for sure. Thank you everyone for your picks in the comments. Saw some amazing ones, trending up or trending down. We do this every single Sunday. Everyone in chat loves it. It's a great way to keep tabs on the Winnipeg Jets, who's trending up or trending down. And like I said, if you're enjoying the stream so far, make sure you hit the like button down below. And let's roll right into our very next segment, one burning question. So if you're in the chat, you're in the comments, you just dropped your pick for trending up or trending down. Don't go far. It's time for one burning question. This is the part of the show where we take questions from you, the fans, down in the chat. If there's anything you want us to answer regarding the Winnipeg Jets, drop that comment down below right now, and we will attempt to rapid fire as many as we can here on a Sunday morning, Masters Sunday. Bomber Fan Fest, sorry, down at Princess Auto Stadium today. It's a beautiful Sunday. Winnipeg Jets game, obviously, which I keep forgetting they play today. They do play today down against the Edmonton Oilers. And Lyss, my burning question to you is, are you a golf watcher?
I am not a golf watcher.
Not a golf
I
watcher.
can't really get on board with watching, but I've been following the
Okay.
Masters a little bit, and obviously it's hard not to follow what Rory McIlroy's been doing. Holy smokes, the performance he's been putting up has been pretty fun. But I don't know if I'll be tuning in later today. I know it's a fun little Masters Sunday here, so for everyone who is a big fan, I am happy for you. I am such a sports fan. I love when the tournaments and all those sorts of things are going on. Just golf doesn't quite do it for me. I do want to try and get into it though, because I respect golf so much. I just am terrible at it and don't always like the commentary because I find it a little bit on the dry side, but it's because I don't have enough of an appreciation for it yet. But today's a big day and it'll be interesting to see if Rory can kind of keep up what he's been doing.
Yeah, I will say also, like, golf, usually I just kind of keep tabs on it and maybe I'll tune into the final day if it's like a close race and there's some drama involved. So I'm not like sat for every major championship watching all 4 days like locked in. The Masters, however, are on the TV at all times. And yesterday was awesome watching Rory just step up and blast like that 370-yard drive to start his round, and he went like birdie, eagle, birdie, par, birdie. Like, it was like, whoa, Rory is here and he's locked in. So that was fun to watch. And I'm really excited to watch the final day here today. Go Rory and go Corey Connors, hanging in there. I believe he's tied for third because it goes Rory, DeChambeau, I almost said Kyle Connor, Corey Connors. It's too many Connors. Jesus. Corey Connors, he is 8 under, I believe, tied for third. So go Canada, go Corey Connors. That would be awesome to see.
I thought everyone in the chat was cheering for you. I wasn't sure.
Yeah. Well, that too, of course. That too, of course.
You got a tea time. Get out of here.
Yeah, I gotta go. Gotta go to Augusta. Question from Matt Hyman: does Helly get the day off today? Drieger dressing, so maybe they go Comrie and then fully don't even dress Hellebuck. Maybe they definitely go Comrie and net. I think
for sure. Yeah. No, because Drieger's been with the team for a while now, right? Like he hasn't gone back down to the Moose. I think
trip,
so.
Like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Comrie, like, bet the house for sure that he'll get the start today. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they don't even dress Hellebuck. I wouldn't totally be surprised if that was the case. Give Drieger a chance to sit on the bench. Why not?
Yeah. Rat River Rebel, who do you think may have an unexpected breakout performance? I don't know if he'll break out, but I am very excited to see Elias Salamonson play in one of these final games here for the Jets. Like you said, Lyss, and someone in chat mentioned it earlier, if the Moose played today, if the Moose players came and played with the Jets today, that would be a back-to-back-to-back. So I don't know if it'll be today, but maybe Wednesday they'll get that one last chance to get the rookies in. Elias Salamonson, not saying he's going to break out and like crack the playoff roster off of one game against the Anaheim Ducks, but I am very excited to see what he looks like against some NHL competition. Lyss, what about you? These final games?
I might take that a little bit of an extra step. I think that maybe it's a little bit unfair just because of the quote unquote the trend of the direction, but I'm going to go playoff performer breakout for Morgan Barron. I think everyone's been so pumped about what they've been seeing from him lately, and rightfully so, that I think that in particular what playing with Brandon Tanev could do with him is just you have a little bit of that extra pesty player. And I think you give Morgan Barron a little bit of extra open space, whether it's off the rush or even kind of cycling the puck, especially behind the net. I think that, space is hard to come by in the playoffs. We always talk about that, right? I think Brandon Tanev is a guy who can free up a little bit of extra space by just being who he is. And I feel like Morgan Barron's going to be my guy to break out and bring a little bit of that, if you go back through Stanley Cup champs of late, there's always a couple of those guys down in the lineup that punch a little bit above their weight class that are able to help, contribute to their team in meaningful ways. The Blake Colemans and Barclay Gooders of the world, right? Like, I think that he's a guy who has the potential to be that breakout player for the Jets.
Sure. And as for like a playoff pick, like you're going with there a little bit with Barron, I'll say Perfetti. I mean, it's pretty obvious he's ascending as of late, but he played like 10 minutes total in the playoffs last year in the first round. So it's really like just a pick based on the fact that he didn't play last year. But at the same time, he's playing so well as of late. And I think he could have a big impact on this team's playoff run for sure. Burning question, Heritage uniforms for the playoffs. I would be so down. I'm in.
I would do anything for that, guys. You know that, but there's no
I'm
chance.
in.
There's a 0% chance that'll happen. I think, last year I really wanted it to happen. I've given up, but holy smokes. There is
One day.
when Nikolai
One day.
Ehlers scored that goal in the Heritage just a couple weeks ago and they had that celebration on the ice, and I was like, can you imagine this with the white backdrop? Because that's actually one of my crazy hot takes. Not sure if this is like a crazy take or not. I would, if given the choice between the Winnipeg Jets switching to white jerseys for home for the playoffs for the whiteout or not, I 100% want them to keep the dark, because the photos of the dark in contrast with the white background are so gorgeous. And I just think it's so fun. So I love the jerseys. It's not happening. Fastity. I'm so sorry.
One day it's gonna happen. We're gonna bang this drum enough, and eventually it will happen, folks. The Danish Dash asking, now that Perfetti is starting to reach his final form, who's the current NHL comparable in terms of play style? This is actually a hilarious question, because Jacob Stoller and I, Jacob usually joins us here on WST Sunday Live. We were in the press box for one of the most recent home games. I don't remember specifically which one it was. Oh, it was definitely the Vancouver game on the Sunday that the Jets won.
Mm-hmm.
And we spent the entire first period trying to make a ceiling comparable for Cole Perfetti, and we couldn't do it. I was looking around the league at players that rack up a lot of assists, because we know Cole Perfetti's a great passer, and every player's either, a little bit bigger or faster than him, or maybe a different, I don't know, maybe just a different type of passer. Like we know Cole Perfetti's very surgical. Some players are just great off the rush. I don't know. It's very tough. Lyss, I don't know if you have a name off the top of your head.
I don't, man. Because
I spent like a period on this for the Vancouver game, and we couldn't find it.
I know, because to your credit, I was experiencing FOMO because I wasn't at that game with you guys. And then I was looped into the conversation, and I was like, I have no idea. And it's so funny because there are so many flashes of comparisons that you could make to Gabe Vilardi. They're not the same player. I totally get that, but just you use the word surgical, which is a word that I really like, and just the ability to be a threat and be able to hold on to the puck and make heads up decisions. While it's almost like a Mark Scheifele-esque, where it's like, just give me a sec. I'm playing with the puck here. I'm trying to just hold on to this while I'm trying to decide what I'm going to do. Just like, you're pissing me off, leave me alone. And like just how calmly they're able to manage the puck, but also like being super slow while doing that, like not protecting it with that like insane acceleration the way someone like Jack Eichel does, where like Jack Eichel is a guy who's so good at protecting the puck, but it's partially because he accelerates so quickly, and also just like that straight line speed is ridiculous. And so I don't have an answer for that, but I know that we are starting to see real flashes of what Cole Perfetti is capable of doing, and I also don't think that we've seen the best from him yet. So I'm with you on that. Roddy asked, will the Jets win today? And I'm going to loop it into another question here on who do the Jets rest tonight. I'd wait to see the lineup before making a prediction on whether or not the Jets will win. For sure, Edmonton is either resting players or they just don't even have enough players to rest. Like, they are so injured. Connor McDavid is playing. I don't think Leon Draisaitl's playing, or at least he didn't play their last game against the San Jose Sharks on Friday. So they don't
as
really
for the
have much
Jets, though,
to play
I don't know
for right now, do they?
They don't. Well, home ice against LA, but they're 4 points back.
They're so far back. No, exactly. I guess technically, because that is a team, you want to talk about where home ice matters. If you could get home ice on LA, I'm still convinced that this is the year they do it. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid a little bit, but that would definitely impact my decision. And it's part of the reason why I'm so high on the Kings, is because of how good they have been on home ice and how good of a matchup team they are. So that'd be very interesting.
Yeah. Winnipeg Chaster asking, who do the Jets rest tonight? They guess Schenn, Morrissey, Niederreiter. I like those picks. I think Scheifele is a candidate to rest.
I think Schenn for sure. I'd almost guarantee. I wouldn't be surprised if Dylan Sandberg rested too. Morrissey as well. Because Morrissey missed that game after the Four Nations, so he's not trying to do an Iron Man or anything like that. I don't think Niederreiter rests though. Personally, I think Nino will play.
He's red hot. He's got to keep it going. Yeah. I think he'll play as well. Most likely first round upset. Most likely Ottawa beats Toronto. Now, actually, for my take, I don't know, but the most likely one is that Toronto loses. I can tell you that for sure.
Interesting. this might be a crazy, crazy one, but depending on what happens, whatever,
Don't say
I could
Montreal.
see Vegas
Okay.
jumping out of the first round and
Wow.
losing in the first. I don't know. There's something about that team that Jack Eichel is Jack Eichel, and I just think he's so unreal. I think he's insane. I'm obsessed with him, but I don't know. I would have to see, especially if it was the St. Louis Blues. I could see the St. Louis Blues taking out the Vegas Golden Knights. Minnesota, I'm not as confident in, but I think if you could send out Joel Eriksson Ek and just staple him to Jack Eichel in that line, I don't know. I could see Vegas. I'm just a little bit less high on this year. I don't know, but
Sure.
I like your pick from the East. I don't think, like, if we just quickly go down the lineup, like, I don't know what you would consider to be an upset, because some of the 2-3s, like, I guess like Jersey beating Carolina would be
No. Carolina,
technically an
New
upset.
Jersey's so hurt. I think
Oh,
Carolina's gonna
no, for
roll
sure, but
them.
it's like, even
Yeah.
if they did, it's like the 2-3, like, I don't know if it would be like a crazy upset for New Jersey to win. I guess it would be,
Yeah.
like, Carolina's a better team, but we know them at this point. Montreal's not making it out of the first round. I'm feeling
No.
pretty confident in that. And I think Tampa wins the East. That's my crazy hot take right now, where I think that we're gonna see Tampa Bay in the Stanley Cup final this year. So
Jets Lightning. Interesting. Okay.
that'd be pretty gross. But especially with Vasilevsky playing the way he's been playing lately, I think I'm obsessed
What a
with this Tampa Bay
goaltending
team.
duel
So
that would be. Yeah. I will say, like, most likely first round upset. Yeah. My actual pick as well is going to be Toronto.
yeah,
We
and that's a good one.
we've seen this movie before.
Well, and then
See it
also
again.
technically for both of us, Colorado beating Dallas, if you're looking at just the standings, is technically an upset, but none of us are going to be surprised if that happens. So
I think the actual, like, odds for that line are like a pick 'em, or for that series are a pick 'em. So it's,
yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, that was technically an upset. I guess most likely, because I'm very confident Colorado is going to beat Dallas. I think that I'd label that as the most likely
Yeah.
upset looking at seeding. But for, like, an actual, like, shocking, whoa, they won the series, I'm going to take Ottawa. Go Sens, go.
And then best and worst first round
Yeah.
matchup. I'm so dialed for Kings Oilers. I really am. Like, I think that those are
No.
just two polarizingly different teams. And this is the year, guys. This is the year that I feel like we're actually going to be interested in what's going on with that series. And this is why I like this playoff format. I'm stoked that they're getting yet another chance to try and take it to these guys. And I think that this is the year that the Kings do it. I am going to be tuned in for that one for sure. I'm psyched. And I've said this for weeks, and I will say it again. Worst first round matchup, Carolina Jersey. I'm not excited about that one.
No,
I'm not
that's-
interested.
yeah.
I
No,
could
watch
not really care less. It'll be interesting to see who comes out of that one, but I'm not super dialed for that one. The Metro
Yeah.
as a whole, I'm just very uninspired by.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, the East, Toronto, Ottawa, and Florida, Tampa, I think are a step above the other two series for
Yes.
sure. And then in the West, like Dallas, Colorado, I think is the best. If the best series, I think Dallas, Colorado, even though I think Colorado is going to win that one.
Mhm.
I'm not as psyched as you are for LA Edmonton for the fourth straight
I
year.
like the Kings though. I do quite
Sure,
like the
yeah.
Kings, so I think that's probably why I'm kind of psyched
I
about
do
it.
think this is okay. You know what? I do also agree with you. I think this is the year LA does it, which makes it a little bit more exciting. Like, I
Right.
think if they don't get it done this year, it's like, when will they ever beat the Oilers? Like, they're so hurt.
There's
Um,
yeah.
It's
And
it's the LA Kings time. And I will say, the Battle of Ontario, I'm very, very psyched for. So I'd say
And
Colorado.
Sens
and
fans are just
Dallas
gonna
and
go ballistic, right?
nuts.
Like, they
Yeah.
haven't had a playoff team in so long. Same thing with Montreal. Like, the vibes of Montreal, I feel like, bring up
Yeah.
the caliber of that series a little bit, simply because of the market. And I will say, I will never ever, like, out of the hater of my heart, or whatever you want to call it, cheer for a team in the playoffs just because they're Canadian. There's no chance. I'm not built like that. But I will say, I am happy that, for the sake of fans, that there are a decent amount of Canadian teams making
Oh,
it into
yeah.
playoffs this year. Five for seven, or whatever you want to call it, is pretty fun. And I'm stoked
Very.
for Habs fans. I don't wish their team well. Don't get me wrong. I'm psyched for Sens fans. I wish their team a little bit more well, but I'm not
Yeah.
going to necessarily cheer for them to win. But I am happy for their fans that they're going to get to experience some playoff hockey, because, as we know, it's there's nothing quite like it.
To further your point, I am cheering for the Ottawa Senators, but part of that
course,
is also
yeah.
because I'm cheering against the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Well, exactly. Yeah.
So-
Same thing
so
with,
it's like-
that's part of the reason for me with the Kings too. I think it's just that, like, I just have this deep embedded
Sure.
hatred for the Edmonton Oilers that I don't think any other team will ever surpass. Like, I just, ugh.
Connor McDavid just has a soft spot in my heart.
Okay,
My
whatever.
jersey's like hanging up there. Four Nations, my king, Connor McDavid. What a legend. Adam asks, are you two golfers? I golf like a handful of times this summer. I'm not good.
Here's my thing with
What?
golfing is that I was saying before, I'm a big scheduler. And I always say,
There you
I never know looking ahead of my schedule when I'm going to be in the mood to be viscerally angry for 4 hours because I am.
Very true.
I do not have a good emotional regulation when it comes to me playing sports. Watching sports, I'm chill. I'm so fine. Playing sports, and I also don't do well in heat. I don't like being outside when it's over 20 degrees. So just like heat stroke, dying on the golf course just to shank balls into the bushes.
Yeah.
I'm never in a good mood for it. So no, I'm gonna say I'm not a golfer. I like going to the driving range and stuff like that. I'll go do that when I have some spare time. But like actually playing a full 18, I gotta be in a special headspace to be able to do that because holy smokes.
Exactly. Sammy Smoke saying mini golf doesn't count. Yeah, that's all I'm good at for golf, actually. Like real golf, I have the worst slice. Again, no one wants to hear about my golf game, but I'm not good. But I will say like my family's big campers, so we go to Falcon and like that course is awesome. And I'm kind of on the opposite side of you. Like if there's like a 32-degree day, I want to be out on the golf course just chilling. Maybe 32 is a little hot.
Oh my god.
Okay, maybe not. Maybe that's a little much actually. Now that I'm thinking about it.
Look,
we get one weekend of nice weather and all of a sudden we're like complaining about the heat. It's like,
oh my gosh, no.
Yeah.
I always complain about the heat though. I'm such a I am meant to be in like Winnipeg and the cold because my home course or whatever you want to call it is the one and only John Bloomberg, John B. That's where I golf. And you think about the front nine of John Bloomberg, you're just like right out, no trees, no nothing. It's just like the sun beating down on your back, and you're like, this is terrible.
True.
But I love John Bloomberg so much, so I would never say anything poor about her. But man, oh man, when it's too hot out and there's no clouds or anything, brutal.
Why are we talking about golf in April, Rob Mahoney? Are we Leafs fans? It's a good point. It's a good point. We the Winnipeg Jets have clinched the Central Division. Thank you everyone for your questions. This was a fun little one burning question segment covering all things golf and Winnipeg Jets. Thank you everyone. We really appreciate it. If you're enjoying the stream, make sure you hit the like button down below and hit that subscribe and the notification so you don't miss all the great content we've got coming out this week on the Winnipeg Sports Talk channel and into the playoffs, of course. And I should mention, a lot of people enjoyed it actually in the comments section, but Remus and I did a post-game show for the Jets and Dallas game. I was like, hey, why not? This game is so huge. They're going to win. Let's do a post-game show after. And Remus was pretty locked in for that. So that was a ton of fun. We're going to be bringing those post-games back for the playoffs. Last year, we did them for every single game. Against the Colorado Avalanche. Hopefully we have more than 5 this year. But post-game shows for the playoffs on the Winnipeg Sports Talk YouTube channel. Super excited for that. They'll be posted after KNR every single night. So you can watch IC, watch KNR, and then when KNR is done, we'll be done, and we're just going to upload it as a video. It won't be live like those other 2 channels. But
what a gauntlet of content. Holy smokes.
If there's someone asked a question, will there be 9 p.m. home games? If there's 9 p.m. home games, people are going to have post-game shows till like 3 a.m.
Hey, that's beautiful.
Because it's going to go 9 to 12. And then, 1 hour IC, 1 hour KNR. And then we're more like 30 minutes at Winnipeg Sports Talk. Those marathons with the hour are a little long. But anything else to say, Lyss, before we head out and plug the Dimitri interview again?
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm just psyched for the Dimitri interview that's coming out tomorrow. We'll talk a little bit more. I always say this. I think that there are so few folks that do as good of a job of creating insightful content about, all 32 NHL teams. And Dimitri is going to have some great stuff, not only to say about the Winnipeg Jets, because he's pretty high on those folks the same way that we are, but he'll have a lot to say about some of the different matchups in the Central Division, because we know how fun the Central is lately. So I'll give you a nice little cheers with my mason jar for that one. And we'll see you guys on that show tomorrow. It's going to be lots of fun.
Yeah, my post-game content watching will be longer than the actual game. That is true. It'll be pretty close, actually.
Certified yappers across the board, because that's the only way we know how to do it with between Kenny, Rennie, and Drew, Dave, and Ezzy, and then now the rest of us. Holy smokes.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be fun. I'm super psyched for this playoff run. We've got so many fun things planned here at Winnipeg Sports Talk and Winnipeg Sports Talk Sunday Live. This show next Sunday is either going to be a preview for game one or a recap of game one. So we are super fired up for that because either they move this concert or they don't. So they either play Saturday or Sunday. But either way, thank you everyone for joining us here on Sunday morning. We had over 300 people. We had like 335 at one point, easily our biggest crowd ever. Everyone's fired up. Jets are Central Division champs. Enjoy your Sunday, everyone. Enjoy the Masters. Go Corey Connors. Go Rory McIlroy. Enjoy Bombers Fan Fest if you're heading down to Princess Auto Stadium. And then, of course, if you're heading down to Canada Life Center, enjoy the Jets game tonight. We'll see what the lineup looks like. But from myself, Connor Hrabchak, Lyss Houde, and Jacob Stoller, thank you for tuning in to WST Sunday Live. Enjoy your Sunday, everyone, and we will see you next Sunday and Monday after Winnipeg Sports Talk with an interview with Dmitry Filipovich. Take care, everyone.